The bell rang like a battle cry. Students flooded the hall in a chaotic current of teenage chatter, locker slams, and the distant screech of someone who'd lost their vape pen in a vending machine. Then the front doors opened, and everything stopped. He stepped through the threshold like a god of chaos slouching into gym class. Tall, pale, sunglasses indoors, and hair slicked back like it had been cursed to hold form for eternity. A leather jacket hung from his shoulders. It gleamed slightly, as if oiled in something other than conditioner. "Who's that?" whispered a girl near the lockers, elbowing her friend. "No idea," the other muttered, "but he just ate a pencil." Jeff chewed noisily, smiled with all his teeth, and approached the front office like he belonged there, which of course he absolutely did not. "Name?" asked the secretary without looking up. "Jex Vanderkool," Jeff replied, voice smooth like cracked marble. "From Norwegitania, land of ice, and tragic haircuts." "Exchange student?" "Absolutely." He slid forward a forged letterhead that shimmered in an eldritch way. The secretary glanced at it, blinked, and nodded, already forgetting everything. "First class is English, room 209. Don't forget your schedule." He didn't take it. Meanwhile, Arthur sat cross-legged behind a desk that hadn't existed until this morning. The plaque read, "Mr. Greenbaum, Guidance Counselor." On the wall behind him, a motivational poster read, "You matter, but statistically probably not." He sipped coffee that was technically black ichor. It steamed lazily. Jeff entered without knocking. Arthur didn't look up. "You're late." "I arrived precisely when I meant to." Arthur sighed. "You watched The Lord of the Rings again, didn't you?" Jeff flopped onto the chair, which made a crunching sound. "So far, humans are noisy, emotionally unstable, and full of flavored water and anxiety. I love it here." Arthur set down his mug. "Stick to the plan. Learn about teenagers. Blend in. Don't start a cult this time." Jeff pouted. "It was barely a cult. You levitated a bus and declared yourself the snack god of recess." Jeff shrugged. "They offered me Lunchables as tribute. What was I supposed to do?" Jeff's first class was English. The teacher, Mr. Hansen, was halfway through explaining Lord of the Flies when Jeff kicked open the door and strolled in like he owned the alphabet. "Hello, fellow children," he said, eyes hidden behind his reflective shades. "I am new. Please direct me to the vibes." Mr. Hansen blinked. "You must be Jex?" "Yes." Jeff slung his bag onto a desk near the back. "Tell me of these flies and why they lured." Someone in the front row snorted. Jeff turned slowly and stared. The snorter, a sophomore named Greg, spontaneously sneezed blood, just a little. "Bless you," Jeff said warmly. By lunch, Jeff was already a legend. Someone claimed he'd threatened a vending machine into giving him free Snickers. Another said he spoke fluent raccoon. A third insisted she'd seen him remove a kid's braces with a wink and a growl. He sat alone at a lunch table, slicing open a Capri Sun with a talon he swore was just a fancy fingernail. Arthur joined him, tray untouched. "You're being too flashy. I'm making friends. No one will make eye contact with you." Jeff grinned. "Exactly." Arthur groaned and massaged his temples. "You've got 3 more classes today. Try not to corrupt the faculty." Jeff nodded solemnly. "No promises." By the end of the day, the biology teacher was missing, last seen opening a frog tank. The fire alarm had screamed, "Run," in a human voice. Jeff was assigned detention for turning his locker into a portal of aggressive whispering. As he strolled to the detention room, whistling a tune that made the lights flicker, Jeff paused and looked out the window. Students laughed and yelled on the field. A girl with black eyeliner stared too long at the sky. Somewhere, a group of theater kids practiced dying loudly for Hamlet. Jeff exhaled, pleased. "Mortals are weird," he said. "I might actually like it here." And the sky above the school shifted slightly, just enough for the janitor to mutter, "Here we go again." Monday, pajama day. Jeff arrived in a Victorian nightgown, slippers made of actual fog, and a sleeping cap with a screaming face stitched into it. Someone screamed. Someone else proposed to him. He smiled, nodded, and ate an entire waffle in one bite. No one knew where the waffle came from, not even Jeff. By second period, Spirit Week was in full swing. The hallways were lined with posters painted in glitter glue and misplaced optimism. Paper chains hung like colorful entrails. The morning announcements blasted through the intercom, cheerful and oblivious. Good morning, Gristle High, it's pajama day. Tomorrow is wacky costume day. Wednesday is possession. Wait, who wrote this? Jeff winked at the ceiling. Somewhere in the school, a light bulb exploded. Arthur sat in his guidance office, now filled with motivational crystals and a large orb that pulsed with faint screaming. He had a clipboard, a headache, and a student on the verge of emotional combustion. I just don't get why she left me, the student moaned. Arthur frowned sympathetically. She's dating a guy who thinks Bluetooth is a color. Exactly. Arthur opened a desk drawer and pulled out a plush bat. Squeeze this. It helps. Is it bleeding? Only if you're holding it wrong. Meanwhile, Jeff accidentally started a cult. He just wanted to understand gym class. Coach Bronsky told everyone to stretch. Jeff misheard. He summoned a stretching demon. It had too many joints. The students loved it. By the end of class, they were chanting in a circle, arms raised, faces painted with chalk dust and cafeteria ketchup. All hail the Jex, they cried. He who breaketh vending machines and walketh with wet socks unbothered. Jeff scratched his chin. You know what? Sure. This is fine. Tuesday, wacky costume day. Jeff arrived dressed as the assistant principal. So did the assistant principal. It caused a minor paradox. Arthur had to salt the hallway. In algebra, Jeff raised his hand and asked, if love is irrational and pi is irrational, does that mean love is pi? The teacher wept. The board caught fire. Everyone clapped. Kylie sat alone at lunch again. Black hoodie, chipped black nails, and a tray untouched. Jeff plopped across from her with a grin and a lunch he clearly bartered from shadowy forces. Raw spaghetti, a packet of grape jelly, and something twitching. You're different, she said, not looking up. I'm from Norwegitania, Jeff said. That's not a place. He leaned closer. Neither am I. She smirked. For the first time since arriving, Jeff felt something he didn't expect. Curiosity. Not his. Heron directed at him. Don't get attached, Arthur had warned. Too late. Wednesday. Possession day. It was supposed to be a joke theme. But when students showed up with glowing eyes and spoke in ancient tongues, the faculty panicked. A substitute priest was called. He fled after 5 minutes. One girl levitated out of her desk and told the class she could see time melting. Another confessed her sins in the middle of pre-calc. Most involved glitter glue. Jeff, annoyed, stood up during lunch and shouted, "This isn't how you properly possess someone." The room went silent. He gestured to a freshman whose head was spinning like a cheap horror effect. Backwards, Chad. Clockwise is amateur hour. The demon-possessing Chad vomited and left. Jeff received polite applause and a detention slip. That night, Jeff and Arthur sat on the bleachers under a half-moon sky, watching the football team practice summoning plays. Literally, their mascot, a 7-foot possum in chainmail, was now actually hissing. "Jeff," Arthur said, tone low, "you're losing control." "I never had it." "You charmed the cheer squad into chanting in iambic pentameter. They needed structure. You taught the drama class how to cry blood on command." Jeff paused. "Okay, that was educational." Arthur leaned in. The veil's thinning. Weird is bleeding into real. And that banshee girl? She's sniffing out your scent. Jeff turned to the field. Kylie sat alone in the bleachers opposite, humming something that made the grass wilt. He smiled softly. "She's interesting." "Be careful," Arthur warned. "Humans aren't pets. They break." Jeff tilted his head. "Sometimes," he said. "So do we." Thursday was coming. So was the spring formal. And with it, something else. Something old. Something invited. Jeff didn't know it yet, but the PTA had a secret basement. And in that basement, the plans were already etched in blood-red chalk beneath the sign. Parents Against Teen Autonomy, monthly meeting. The dance was scheduled under a blood moon, and Jeff had been chosen as their guest of honor. Detention smelled like melted erasers and broken futures. The desks were etched with curses, some metaphorical, some definitely literal. A poster on the wall read, "Make better choices," in Comic Sans, which Jeff found deeply offensive. He lounged in his chair, feet kicked up, humming a tune that made the classroom clock tick backward. "Mr. Vanderkool," snapped Vice Principal Larrabee, "do you find this funny?" Jeff leaned forward, removed his sunglasses slowly, and stared. Vice Principal Larrabee blinked, then sweat, then sat back down. Arthur, seated beside Jeff in an uncomfortable plastic chair far too small for any being over 4 feet, pinched the bridge of his nose. "I told you not to enchant the student council ballots." Jeff shrugged. "It was a simple charisma hex. It's not my fault I won all positions." "You don't even know what the treasurer does." Jeff smirked. "Treasures things?" Outside, the spring formal was being set up. Paper streamers, balloons, a punch bowl filled with something that glowed faintly and hummed when no one was looking. Inside the gym, parents bustled around in matching shirts. PATA, Parents Against Teen Autonomy. On the stage, beneath a banner that read, "Under the Blood Moon Ball," a massive summoning circle was being chalked into the floor, veiled by fog machines and enthusiastic chaperones. "We'll bring him in tonight," said PTA President Linda. "The Ancient One will awaken, and all teenagers shall know respect." The others clapped politely. Back in detention, the lights flickered. The walls breathed. Something whispered Jeff's name in reverse. He stood. Arthur groaned. "What now?" "I just realized I'm invited to a dance," Jeff said. "And I'm being summoned. That's so rude. No consent. No RSVP. No foreplay." Arthur stood too. "You're not going alone." The gymnasium pulsed with energy. Music played, but beneath it, a sub-frequency made the air ripple. Kylie stood near the bleachers in a long black dress and combat boots. Her eyes were darker than usual, sharper. She saw Jeff before he entered, and for a moment her lips curled in a smile. "You came," she said. "I heard there'd be snacks and eldritch horrors. My 2 favorite things." She reached into her purse and handed him a lollipop. Blood red, maybe literal. "Try not to get possessed tonight," she said, "unless it's funny." The dance was in full swing when the ritual began. The PTA members gathered in a slow circle, chanting beneath their breath. The punch bowl rose into the air. A portal tore open in the ceiling, revealing teeth. Just teeth. The ground cracked, the fog thickened. Students screamed and cheered, unsure if it was part of the theme. Jeff sighed, popped the lollipop in his mouth, and stepped into the middle of the summoning circle like a man walking into an open mic night. "I wasn't summoned," he called, arms wide. "I was born dramatic." The demon emerging from the portal paused. Jeff raised a single finger. "Number down. Bad void beast." It paused again. Blinked its 36 eyes. Then whimpered and sank back through the floor like a scolded puppy. Linda, the PTA president, shrieked, "You ruined the ceremony!" Jeff marched over and booped her on the nose. "You ruined prom." Then he turned to Arthur. "You know what to do." Arthur cracked his neck, reached into his jacket, and pulled out a banjo. The lights dimmed. The music stopped. The portal closed with a wet slurp, and all at once, everything went back to normal. Or normal-ish. Later, as the janitor mopped up ectoplasm near the bleachers, Jeff and Kylie sat on the edge of the stage. "Was that real?" she asked, kicking her feet. Jeff handed her half of a melted fruit roll-up. "Define real." She glanced at him sideways. "You're not from Norwegitania." "No one is," he said. "It's just IKEA, but colder." She leaned closer. "Are you gonna leave?" Jeff looked around the gym. Streamers torn, balloons half deflated, someone slow dancing with a ghost. "Nah," he said. "I like it here. Mortals are dumb, but interesting." Arthur poked his head in from the hallway. "Jeff, we've been asked to chaperone next week's science fair." Jeff grinned. "Do I get to judge the volcanoes? Just don't eat the baking soda again." As they left the gym, the fire alarm whispered, "See you next semester." Jeff winked at it. "Wouldn't miss it."